What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another terrible day being in the life of being a Cleveland Browns fan. I am Derek. This is Dog Pound Discussions. Joining me, as always, the super gremlin himself, Tony Battaglio.
Didn't we use that one last time?
I don't know, but its point
We
still
used it, yeah.
remains.
We used it last time. You need to step up your game.
How am I supposed to step up with my game when this is what we have to talk about? This football team.
That's fair.
Um, let's dive right into it. Right off the bat, I just want to say, um, we're going to get into the most. I love how this picture is just still up. We're going to get into the most recent stuff with Deshaun Watson. Probably not too in depth, but kind of what it means in general. We'll talk about. But pretty much this whole podcast is just going to be talking about the game. So before we dive into the details of the game, Tony, Cowboys beat the Browns 33-17.
Yeah, that
Thoughts?
was ugly. Ugly. That's about the only thought that I have. There we go. Sorry, my light went out for a second. But kind of like the light has gone out of my life watching football this weekend between Notre Dame and the Cleveland Browns. It's been a bad weekend, and yeah, we got the dog shit kicked out of us, and we looked like the worst team on the field, and there wasn't even a question. Everyone's like, how are we going to compete with Dallas? We should be able to compete with Dallas. But no, not at all. We got kicked around from one end zone to the other, all four quarters. Line looked like shit. Running game looked like shit. Deshaun Watson looked like shit. This team sucks right now. It's that simple. This team sucks. Going forward, they're going to continue to suck unless major changes are made throughout this week, heading into Jacksonville and throughout the rest of the season. We just looked like absolute shit, and there's no other way to put that. It was bad. It was ugly. It was just awful. Awful way to open up the season, especially when arguably Baltimore loses.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati is upset by New England. I'm not going to call the Baltimore game an upset because obviously it's not. Cincinnati's upset by the Patriots. Pittsburgh should have lost to the Falcons, in my opinion. But yeah, we had a prime opportunity to grab and I know it's only week one, so that's not really going to matter much. But when you have an opportunity to win games and get an advantage over the rest of your teams in the division in the National Football League, you got to capitalize, especially in a division like the AFC North, which is arguably the toughest division in all of football right now. And it's embarrassing, honestly. Like it's very hard to be a Browns fan. It's ridiculous. Always something bad, always something going wrong. And obviously, like as far as the injury bug is concerned, yeah, there was a couple issues throughout the game, and we have issues to address with our tackles and much more. And it's got to get better one day, right? It can't be bad forever. Like there's got to be a fucking light at the end of the tunnel, a rainbow at the end of the rainstorm, whatever. Like it was
Something,
hard to watch. Sunday was hard,
something's got to change. I mean,
but yeah, no, it was hard to watch.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
something's got to change. 33-17 really isn't like the whole story of this game. The 7 points that the Browns scored at the end was garbage time, so 17 isn't even good enough to really be fair. 10 points is what the Browns actually did on
Yeah.
Sunday. But before we get into the offense, before we get into the defense, some things on the game that you might find interesting. Laugh to keep from crying here. 2 for 15 on third down.
Yeah,
3
it's
for
lovely.
5 on fourth down. 11 penalties for 64 yards. Those are all great stats, but let me make it even worse. First half, the Cleveland Browns offense had 54 yards total. 0 for 6 on third down. And 1 first down the entire first half of the game. So, if that tells you all you need to know, um, I think those key points there are huge. All right, you ready to address the play of Deshaun Watson? I think that's probably the best first elephant in
Yeah,
the
I
room.
guess. Awful. Awful, 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 awful quarterback play. He is bailing out of the pocket all the time. And you can say, yeah, the line was awful. The receivers weren't getting open. The line was awful. Wide receivers were getting open. Deshaun just wasn't finding them. He was overthrowing, underthrowing, bailing out of the pocket, like I said. It's like he's scared to get hit. He's gun shy, and he's going to get hit a lot this season if he's going to continue to play the way he has and hold on to the ball too long or make the wrong reads or something's got to change. $230 million guaranteed, and he plays more like Charlie Fry than Deshaun Watson that we've seen when we gave him the contract. Yeah. This is a colossal failure by Jimmy Haslam, by Andrew Berry, by Kevin Stefanski, and their legacies are tied to Deshaun Watson because of that contract. And if something does, and I understand that Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time coach of the year, and I do believe Kevin is a good coach, and I don't think it's too early to say, oh yeah, give Ken Dorsey the playbook, let him call plays. But it's not working, and something's going to have to change, whether you bring in someone who's more coach who's more suited for Deshaun, which is still what we have right now, in my opinion. Who else are you going to find? Or you finally bite the bullet and move on from Deshaun Watson, which is going to have to be the likely scenario considering what has developed over the last couple of days. And with his continued just awful play on the football field. And I said this earlier on Twitter. Off the field issues aside, and I'm not dismissing them or ignoring them, and I don't want that to be the narrative that comes out of this. From a pure football standpoint, I just think Deshaun Watson has lost that spark and passion for the game of football that he had at Clemson, that he had during his first few years with the Texans. I just don't think it's there. I think complacency has kicked in. I think he surrounds himself with a bunch of yes men. Brian, Chops, I don't know if the whole narrative about his camp paying people to say nice shit about him on Twitter is true. It really does look like it with the way some of these people ignore stuff. But complacency is set in, and he's surrounded by yes men, and he's never going to be the same player. And I don't care what anyone says. I don't want excuses. I don't want the bull, well, he's got all this off the field stuff. Look at everything that's happened this past week. And yes, I understand it's not about football because of the off the field stuff, but excuses, that's all they are. When you are paid high level money to be a high level football player in the National Football League, especially at the quarterback position, you have to perform. And if you're not performing, a change needs to be made. I'm not saying, okay, we're going to ignore the off-field stuff in this scenario. Do you bench him after one game? No, probably not. Bringing in the off-the-field stuff? Yes. But purely football? No. You give him a couple more weeks. But by mid-season, if this continues, Jameis Winston or Dorian Thompson-Robinson need to be the starting quarterback for Cleveland Browns. Otherwise, we're looking at a bottom 10 finish in the league. We are looking at an early draft pick where we may choose a quarterback. I mean, if we can get up there high enough to grab a Quinn Ewers or a Dylan Gabriel or hopefully not Shedeur Sanders. Awful. But I don't know. It's just something is going to have to change if he doesn't start to play better, if he's even playing any further. He may have played his last football game on Sunday. We have a long time until Sunday. A lot could happen over the next 5 days. But yeah, that's basically the moral of it, is if something doesn't change, a change needs to happen. I don't care. You have to bite the bullet. You have to swallow your pride. You have to admit we were wrong. And I'm not saying, we should have kept Baker Mayfield, because no. Obviously, he was not the right fit for Cleveland either, but neither is Deshaun Watson, and you have to find the guy who is.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're accepting mediocrity. And unfortunately, that's a lot of things that, and Torrey says this all the time, and I will give him his credit on this. Cleveland fans love mediocrity. Mm-hmm. They become complacent, and they're okay with slightly above average, slightly successful, just like the guards. People were like, oh my God, we should appreciate the guards for what they're doing. And yes, I'm one of those people, I will say, thought they were going to have a bad season. Not the case. But I'm also not World Series or bust, or, if they make the playoffs, it's okay. No, they have to perform. And that's just the same way with the Browns. The Browns have to perform. You have all this talent around your team. You have all this talent around your quarterback. You've brought in all the right pieces. You're coming off of a playoff appearance, even though you got dragged across the field in the playoffs last year. Like, you still have to be a competitive and winning football team. And I'm just so tired of the excuses and the complacency and the fucking acceptance of mediocrity around this team, around this city, around everything to do with Cleveland, anything. And like, it's fucking frustrating. And I'm at the end of my wits with it. And it's Sunday. It feels like watching Browns games on Sundays. It feels like a fucking jail sentence anymore. And it's like, I can't do it. I'm gonna lose my mind throughout, like, especially between Notre Dame and the Browns. Like, I'm gonna lose it, man. I don't even like football anymore. I'm gonna start watching shuffleboard. Is there like a competitive shuffleboard league I can throw on? Like,
underwater
I can't do
basket
it.
weaving.
Yeah, dude, it's not good for my mental health. Like, I'm about to start wearing a fucking blood pressure cuff during games and live tweeting my blood pressure. Like, it's bad, bro. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. That's all my thoughts on Deshaun and the game.
so I want to start off, and obviously, again, we're gonna talk about the off the field stuff, but I want to talk about just strictly on the field. In this point, Deshaun Watson is the Deshaun Watson you knew and loved in Houston is dead. That guy is dead, and there's no bringing him back to life. Deshaun Watson sucks. And I don't care what people want to say to try to make excuses. I don't care, how much faith and belief that you still want to have in Deshaun Watson. I am done. I'm done. I'm done. Like, done. On the field, off the field, I'm done. Because Deshaun Watson in this past game, and I want to explain this in the best way that I can, because I watched the all 22 from this game, and I slowed down every single offensive snap. Run downs, pass downs, every single offensive snap, took it frame from frame, looked at each position to see, okay, how much of it truly was Deshaun Watson, how much of it truly was the offensive line, game plan, play calling. I wanted to see where this all meshes together as far as where the blame goes. And I'll tell you this much. And I don't care what people want to say. You can call me stupid. I don't care. I know what I saw. The offensive line was not as bad as they looked. They weren't great. They were not great by any means. But they were not as bad as they looked on Sunday. 95% of the problem on the offensive line, as far as Deshaun Watson getting sacked, where is it? Six sacks for 32 yards, was his fault. It was Deshaun's fault. On the day, Deshaun went 24-45 times, 169 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, and a fumble. There were easily one more interception that probably should have been thrown that he was fortunate enough got dropped, and then there was another one kind of the same situation. And yes, I know he was pressured 27 times, whatever, but what I saw in that all 22 and what I saw on Sunday was a guy who has zero confidence. His ability that made him who he was is gone. Overthrowing, underthrowing, and in particular, there was a couple balls, the one to Elijah Moore, wide open. I mean, you cannot get any more wide open, and he threw it at the dirt. Elijah made a good effort to try to catch that ball, just couldn't do it. And what I don't understand is what I loved most about Deshaun Watson, the player, prior to him being in Cleveland, was how he reads and reacts to the defense. Right, and the adjustments, and goes through his progressions. He was smart. He was decisive. His decision-making was, he took risks. He played superhero ball at times, but all in all, his eyes were usually in the right spot. What I saw Sunday was a guy who had no idea what he was doing. When it was in front of his face, clear wide open, somebody breaking on an out route a couple times, he didn't throw it. He hesitated. He had happy feet. He double clutched. He wasn't confident in himself. And this was all stuff we were saying with Baker Mayfield. And if the quarterback out there on Sunday was named Baker Mayfield and not Deshaun Watson, there's a lot more people hating than
Yeah,
there is currently. And I guess you could say vice versa. It goes both sides. Both sides are horrible.
absolutely.
But Deshaun Watson on Sunday, I would say when you really take a look back at it versus just watching the game live, it was much worse than what you think. Like, it looked bad Sunday, but it was even worse than what you think. There are so many times in that game where Deshaun Watson, again, holding on to the football, scrambling out of clean pockets, which you mentioned, um, trying to make something out of what he perceived to be nothing situations where he had guys open. And listen, play calling was not the best, but it also wasn't as bad as I had originally thought. I was coming out of the game going, man, I don't really know what the plan was there. I don't know what the plan was offensively with Ken Dorsey, Kevin Stefanski. But here's the reality. Receivers were open. There were receivers open. Were they standing there with nobody within 15 yards of them open? Couple plays, yeah, but not consistently. And Tony, you know what the most fascinating part of watching that game film was?
What?
When you look, because I watched offense and defense, when you watch Dak Prescott, who's now has now made the Deshaun contract not look as bad. And I don't think Dak is a terrible quarterback. I think Dak is a good quarterback. He's just not great.
At least he can do the simple things right.
That's exactly what I was about to say. The stuff that Deshaun missed on Sunday, the easy, simple reads, Dak Prescott hit with Dak hit with no hesitation. He hit with confidence.
I'd like to point out in our notes here, a beautiful producer. There was a story out that Bill O'Brien was forced to run the offense that Watson ran in college to make it work. Apparently, Deshaun just can't run Kevin Stefanski's offense. So, what's your thoughts on that? Because I feel like as an NFL quarterback, you should be able to adapt and put yourself in a position to succeed regardless of the scheme you're running or the situation you're placed in.
I don't think Deshaun Watson can run any offense. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. I think when it comes to, we'll talk about off the field. I know I've said that multiple times. I think he's done. I think we've seen the last of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. But on the field wise, when you're talking strictly just play, if Deshaun Watson was named George Grant, 5th round pick out of Clemson, right? There's no shot he would be starting. Like, there's no shot. He was horrendous. And I really wish everybody had the ability to kind of break it down and look at it from a different perspective. But the offense as a whole, and I guess this is a good time to transition into the offense in general. Let's talk about the run game real fast, because that was the only positive that I have of Deshaun Watson. There was a couple of times where he took off and made some athletic plays. Amounted to nothing. But Tony, Jerome Ford sucks. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Jerome Ford sucks.
He put up decent numbers in garbage time, but he was not good throughout the majority of the game.
Yeah. And I didn't really see anything from Dante Foreman, Jerome Ford. Pierre Strong did his whatever.
It was just a bad game. Jalen Darden impressed me. I will say that. Jalen Darden really did impress me. Returning kicks, I think that's something that I would like to see more of in the future. Obviously, I think that's what's going to happen, Derek. I know what you're doing over there. Turn your camera back on.
Don't worry about it.
I can hear it.
Can you? Oh, well.
Yes, I know that sound.
All right. Well, but yeah. Run game sucked. Watson did have 5 carries for 39 yards. So, I mean, he can run a little bit. It's about all he has left anymore.
It's like watching Riley Leonard for Notre Dame. Like, yeah, you can run, but you're doing, what good is it?
Yeah. Um, in the receiving game, David Njoku, Jordan Akins are leading two receivers, which kind of tells you everything you need to know. Only point I wanted to make on wide receivers, Tony, I liked what I saw from Jerry Jeudy. I think we have something there. I don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball, but
I don't know. How do you, like I said, how do you feel about Darden if maybe getting some of Elijah Moore's reps?
so I like Darden a lot. I think Darden is good in the role that we have him in. We finally have a good punt kick returner, which is hilarious after not having anybody for the last how many years.
Yes,
Um,
retired.
yeah, but I would like to see Thrash get more reps or
I
get
agree with
some
that.
reps
Okay with that.
more than Darden, but I don't know, man. I controversial. I don't care. I don't really think receiver was as big of a problem as people think. There were guys open.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So
I
I
mean,
mean,
go ahead.
I guess that kind of wraps up anything on game one that there is to talk about. Kind of throw that in the trash and move on.
Well, did you want to talk about defense real fast?
Yeah, we could touch on that.
So, defensively,
Just considering the situation.
yeah, defensively I thought okay. Defense and offense work together, right? It's a team sport.
Yeah.
If your offense can't stay on the field and sustain drives, your defense can only do so much.
You're right.
That's what I saw Sunday.
Absolutely, yeah. The defense, I don't think the defense was perfect, but I think they did what they could with what they were given.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
kind of like making, chicken salad out of chicken shit. They were given chicken shit, and they tried to make chicken salad, and what can you do?
yeah. And Dallas, I mean, credit. I don't know who's calling plays there in Dallas now because what's his name?
Kellen
Left.
Eagles. So.
Yeah. But they were just dinking and dunking. I mean, they weren't hitting bombs downfield for the most part. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, that is the one thing I wanted to mention. I love Martin Emerson. I think Martin Emerson is great, but CeeDee Lamb is just that good of a talent. He took him out for a lunch on Sunday. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, and let me know what you think about this if you saw anything. Our linebackers in run defense, not terrible, but in pass coverage, our linebackers are horrendous.
Oh yeah, agreed. And it's just, I don't know. The whole team has to be better. It's that simple.
It is, but it's also hard. I mean, we shot ourselves in the foot. 11 penalties, 64 yards. Does that look like a team that maybe didn't play anybody in the preseason?
It's not a team that wins football games.
No. And DeWand was jumping early every time, which I don't blame him. You got Micah Parsons on you, but not excusable. Not excusable at all.
So, I guess let's address the elephant in the room then. We might share the same opinion on this. I think we both agree that Deshaun Watson may have played his final football game as a member of the Cleveland Browns or in the National Football League in general. We can't really go into too much detail because of, YouTube and, restrictions. And I would say just read the latest lawsuit that came out. It's very, very graphic, very disgusting. And I'm not saying it's 100% true or 100% false because all we have is this one thing to go off of. But if what is stated is true, Deshaun Watson should never play football for this team again.
Mm-hmm. No.
You could only take so much. You knew all the allegations and everything coming in, and you still decided to take the contract. And, But, if this is true, he can't be here anymore. He needs to go. We need to void the contract. I mean, there has to be a way to void. The contract will be voided, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
So there's a couple different things being stated right now. Technically, if an allegation comes out or something new comes out that the Cleveland Browns didn't know about, that Deshaun Watson didn't make known, then technically that's breach of contract, which would fall under that. If the NFL were to form any sort of punishment due to conduct, that would be going against it, and that's kind of where we stand now. Um, did you want to say anything else, or you just want me to get into it?
I don't really want to dive too deep into the whole situation because obviously outside of just the initial papers, like the facts are unknown, and I don't want to get into it and start making accusations and false claims and stuff like that. It's just all I can say is read it for yourself, make your own decision on the matter. But if true, I firmly believe Deshaun shouldn't play football anymore. On the field stuff aside this time. Okay, Jacob just joined the stream, so what's going on?
Just a quick breaking news update. The NFL is reviewing the allegations right now. As of right now, he will not be placed on the commissioner's exempt list, but they are investigating it actively at this moment.
Okay. So, yeah. You ready for me to go?
Yeah, that's basically my final thought on it, is just read it for yourself, make your own conclusions, but on the field play aside, if true, Deshaun shouldn't play football for the Browns anymore. If false, Deshaun needs to clean up his play on the field or he should no longer be the starting quarterback.
Yeah. I think no matter how you shake it, if you want to take this as, if you don't believe the allegations and you just think it's all lies, regardless, Deshaun Watson sucks on the field and he's not a good football player anymore. And then when you look off the field, my biggest thing, and again, like, I'm not going to get into it, but this is by far the worst allegation. The claims that are being made are, I don't want to say real, because the other ones were real in their own way, but this is like,
These are more
yes,
allegations
yes,
than previously has been,
yeah. And what scares me the most, and I feel terrible, obviously, for, the people that this happened to, but when you read what was being claimed, it ties into a lot of the other stories, which to me brings more legitimacy and more, more merit to all the other stories that we heard. And I think at this point we're on number 27 of these.
Yep.
Listen, Deshaun Watson, you always offer forgiveness, but I have not seen Deshaun Watson change as a person, and I don't know him. I don't know him on a personal level. You don't. Nobody really does. But you can tell a lot about a person by the people he surrounds himself with. And, when you're a guy who's got all this stuff going on and you're surrounding yourself with the most yes man, kiss ass, on their knees daily sort of people, it's concerning. And that's one thing that I didn't know when we got Deshaun Watson. I did not expect that to be a part of him being here. But when it comes to punishment, the NFL investigating this, Tony, the biggest question that I have, I don't think we're ever going to get an answer to this. And I'm always going to be a Browns fan, but I want to know, did the Browns know about this?
Yeah, that's...
Because if they did and they still decided to make this move, boy, not good. Not good at all. But as far as, like, what this means for the future, as far as, like, the contract and all that, at least my opinion, I do think, given some of the phrasing in the contract and some of the things that have come out, Pro Football Talk has done a great job kind of pointing key things out. So I would highly recommend people, if you want to know more, I'd recommend checking out Pro Football Talk as well. But in my opinion, based on kind of the verbiage that has been used, I believe that there is a way that the Browns are going to void this contract. And people argue, oh, they're not going to help the Browns. They're not. Why would they help the Browns and bail them out? It's not them bailing the Browns out. The NFL is going to save their ass. And the only way the NFL can save themselves is causing some sort of punishment, some sort of resolution to this whole thing with Deshaun Watson. I think he's done. I really don't think we'll ever see another snap of Deshaun Watson in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Tuesday, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You'll be seeing this probably on Thursday. So a lot of things could change between now and Thursday. And if something does, we'll probably have to hop on and do like a breaking news segment. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Jacob said, they're investigating it. Doesn't mean he's not going to play Sunday or he will play. Long way to go. 5 days is a long way, especially in the world of professional sports and how fast everything moves these days. I don't know. We might see him Sunday. We might not. That's kind of where I'm at this point. If you have any gut feeling that he will not play Sunday, Jameis and DTR need to get reps throughout the week in practice.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But the Browns have to find their fit. I'm sorry. I apologize for that segue. The Browns have to find their fit. And speaking of find their fit, check out TwoOneFits.com. TwoOneFits is your premier place to get your Browns, guards, Cavs, Lake Erie t-shirts, hoodies, whatever you may need, hats. He just dropped a new hat with the Browns fan with a bag over his head. It's kind of fire. And shirts. You should pick one of those up. I might be grabbing one myself. But yeah, no, the Browns got to find their fit, and you should find your fit at TwoOneFits.com.
TwoOneFits.com. I want to throw out here also, there is Jameis Winston merch. So,
ooh, yeah.
Let's rally behind the crab man if it comes to it. But get ready to be scouting some quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers, welcome to the Cleveland Browns. That's what I hope. But I know we have a game 2 preview here. I don't know how we can even preview it. I mean,
no. Basically, Jacksonville looked really good, and Trevor Lawrence was dropping dimes all over the field on Sunday, and we could be fucked.
Yeah.
That's my preview. We're fucked.
Yeah, and there's just too much unknowns, but I don't want this to be entirely negative. I do have a positive for us, for Browns fans out there. We don't know what's going to happen this season, but we have our first-round picks back. And if we do suck, at least we're not sucking for no reason this year. That's about all the positivity I got for you as far as this team goes. But, yeah. It's time for your favorite segment of the week.
Honky of the week. Let's get into it.
Honky of the week.
Will Levis is our honky of the week this week for his game-losing interception and perhaps creating one of the best memes in the history of sports because he dropped to his knees and yelled like you just walked in on your girlfriend cheating on you and you don't know what else to do. As you can see, the Chicago Bears defenders running by him.
Dude,
congratulations to the Mayonnaise Man, who I drafted in fantasy because someone lied to me and told me he was going to have a good season, and I believed the hype. And, I had Jordan Love and Will Levis in my 300 football league. So guess who's cooked?
Yeah.
So I did win week 1 because my opponent forgot to take Christian McCaffrey out and put Jordan Mason in, but I'll take the cheap dub. Will Levis, step up your fucking game because I'm going to need you for the next 3 weeks.
Well, I don't know who told you Will Levis was going to be good. I've always been on the Will Levis sucks train.
Torrey Pierce.
Yeah. But nevertheless, everybody, I know this is, probably a few minutes shorter than what we would have liked, but I can only bitch so much.
Yeah, we'll make longer podcasts when there's more positivity to talk about. Right now, this team just pisses me off, and I don't want to talk about them.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, Spotify. I don't know, wherever else you can get your content. collegefootballdogs.com. Go Browns, I guess. Get ready for stock up on your liquor this week. That's about all I can tell you.
Yeah, man. As somebody who decided to be sober, this is rough.
I am also sober 90% of the time. But my favorite football teams do make me drink, so
Bro.
yeah.
I'm telling you, nothing like a Cleveland Browns Sunday to make you want to go swimming off of the bridge. Go Browns, everybody. We will end this. Yeah, whatever. Bye.